Incredible sacrifice, Black girl's touching rescue of kidnapped child reveals unexpected billion. Maya Johnson sat in her front yard, surrounded by scattered papers, her focus split between the scholarship applications that could determine her future and the vibrant world around her. The afternoon sun highlighted her brown skin as she balanced academic aspirations against the mundane reality of a suburban life that often overlooked her. While her peers were on a quest for social media fame or sports glory, Maya felt the shadows of invisibility cloak her dedication to learning. Her honor roll achievements barely stirred the attention of others, leaving her with a dull ache of isolation. Suddenly, her world shattered. She saw 8-year-old Benny, the bright-eyed boy from next door, being dragged toward a dark van by a figure enveloped in shadows. Panic surged through her veins, igniting a fierce protectiveness unlike anything she had felt before. Instinct pushed her to move, her mind racing with urgency. Should she intervene? Hell yes. But as Maya sprinted toward the van, fear constricted her throat. A thought clawed at her mind: what if she failed? What if she ended up getting hurt? The familiar voice of doubt rushed in, whispering of her invisibility, questioning her worth. Was she really brave enough to face the unknown? The heat of urgency charged through her, propelling her into a state of fierce determination. She was a quiet girl drowning in a chorus of loud voices, but in that moment, she felt the stirrings of change. After the initial shock of watching Benny disappear, she knew she couldn't sit idle. The following days were a blur of research. Dusty archives, old newspaper clippings, and public records became her battlegrounds. Each new lead unearthed secrets of Benny's family ties to a hidden fortune buried beneath years of economic hardship, and if she could reveal it, she might just change the landscape of their community for the better. Yet, her mission was met with ridicule. Local gang members found amusement in her scholarly pursuits while adults in town dismissed her as a naive girl with wild dreams. The anxiety roared beneath her calm exterior. She felt it in the tightness of her shoulders, the clenching of her fists. Why do they see intellect as a weakness? She muttered to herself, the voice of her grandmother echoing in her head, urging her that knowledge and integrity were pathways to true recognition. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just when she thought she was on the verge of a breakthrough, a chilling realization sent shivers down her spine. The man who took Benny was linked to one of the town's wealthiest families, known for their merciless ambition. A wave of moral confusion washed over her. Should she expose him? The resentment her family harbored against the elite churned inside her as she battled questions of justice. Who deserved protection? Who needed saving? Now every step she took was laden with pressure. Confronting the upper crust of the community wasn't just about rescuing Benny, it was a reckoning with a legacy, the very shadows of privilege that had long marginalized her. She could feel the weight of all their eyes on her, anticipation thick in the air as she prepared for the showdown. What if this isn't just about Benny? She whispered to herself, shrouded in confusion. The urgency pressed down on her. Could she confront her own fears and the invisible chains that bound her community? Maya paced her small bedroom, the walls lined with images of influential thinkers and activists who had fought against injustice. Each poster felt like a challenge, a mockery of her doubts. As she gazed at the faces of those who had dared to defy the status quo, a chilling realization sparked within her: she had the power to change the narrative. But power came with price tags, and she stood at a crossroads. Her mind was consumed by the knowledge of who was behind Benny's kidnapping. The affluent Thompson family, always wreathed in opulence, perfectly embodied everything her grandmother had warned her about. When they laughed at the plight of the less fortunate, they revealed a darkness that repulsed her, yet it also beckoned her forward. Tackling their empire was no small feat. With her heart pounding, Maya knew she needed more than research, she needed a plan. She envisioned every detail, her confrontation with the Thompsons, the crucial evidence she had gathered, how she would present it. The mere thought sent adrenaline surging through her, competing with fear, and filling her with purpose. Timid whispers resonated in her mind. What if they laugh at you? What if you fail? The worry was a familiar echo, but this time she challenged it. Failure was not the end. It was merely a stepping stone towards growth. She would give her all, not just for Benny, but to illuminate the shadows that had enveloped her community for too long. Stepping outside into the warm evening air, she strolled to the edge of the busy street. The evening sun dipped low, casting a golden hue that made everything glow. Maya took a deep breath, inhaling the scent of budding flowers mixed with the exhaust of passing cars. Each ounce of darkness around her was a stark reminder of her calling. She thought about her peers, their laughter and their fleeting moments of success. No one had noticed the brilliance lurking behind her quiet demeanor. The following day, Maya made her way to the local library, a sanctuary of knowledge intent on digging deeper into the Thompsons' wealth and its origins. Maybe her research could uncover something scandalous, something that could sway public opinion against them. As she pored over records, her fingers skimmed through well-hidden secrets of corruption mingling with power. She discovered connections stretching back decades, intertwining the Thompsons with less-than-ethical dealings that had tarnished their empire. Empowered by her findings, she felt as though the hidden assets of the elite were finally within her grasp. Each revelation fueled her ambition, each uncovered lie lit the fire burning in her belly. Confidence surged through her, you could almost hear the change in the rhythm of her heartbeat. But amidst this new determination, doubt lingered. The stakes were higher than before. Challenging the Thompsons could not only affect her dreams but also put her family at risk. Would her voice drown in the uproar of their power? But as she left the library, a newfound clarity washed over her. This is what it meant to develop, to wrestle with fear and emerge resilient. That evening, after spending the day drafting her evidence, Maya received an unexpected message. A classmate who had once mocked her academic pursuits reached out, asking to meet. A niggling thought crossed her mind: had someone from the elite noticed her investigations? Her heart raced. What did they know? Was someone finally ready to join her cause, or would this be another trap? The possibilities hung in the air as she prepared to confront the very world that had once cast her aside. As she set out to meet her classmate, her resolve solidified. The time had come to face the tremendous push and pull of her reality. Maya stood outside the cafe, her heart racing as she scanned the crowded sidewalk for a familiar face. In this moment, her classmates moved like specters, shadows of her past that reminded her of insecurities and relentless mockery. The very thought of facing one of them after all this time felt daunting. But the signal in her gut, the urgent call to action, overrode her fear. The cafe door swung open, and out walked Lisa, her former classmate, with an air of confidence that could rival the elite she despised. Maya had never shared the same social circles as Lisa. Their paths had always been in stark contrast. Now, their worlds were colliding, and curiosity wrestled with caution in Maya's mind. "Hey, Maya." Lisa's voice broke through her reverie, warm and inviting, yet laced with an underlying tension that Maya couldn't ignore. "Do you have a minute?" "Of course," Maya replied, forcing herself to smile, even as anticipation twisted in her stomach. They settled at a small table tucked away in a corner, the aroma of coffee swirling around them like a halo, both familiar and foreign. "I wanted to reach out about something important." Lisa's tone shifted, almost conspiratorial. "I know about the Thompsons and what they've been doing. There's something you should see." Maya leaned in, captivated. In that moment, the doubts of their past faded, replaced by a shared silence that was electric with possibility. "What do you mean?" "I heard rumors, whispers of dangerous dealings you can't find in plain sight," Lisa explained, her eyes darting. "I think they've gotten more desperate. There are people involved who aren't afraid to harm others to protect their interests. But they're also nearing a tipping point, where exposing them might finally tip the scales." Maya's heart thudded as she processed Lisa's words. Could this classmate, once a source of ridicule, become an ally? Would she be playing with fire by trusting someone so entwined with those who lived in the lap of luxury? What do you want from me? Maya asked, feeling a mixture of skepticism and hope. She wouldn't allow herself to be naive, even as an ember of potential ignited in her chest. Lisa's eyes softened, revealing genuine empathy. I want to help. I've seen the way money changes people, how it leads to darkness. If you're planning to expose them, I can get you inside. I have access. The prospect of infiltrating the Thompsons' world sent a thrill through Maya. But doubt lingered, nagging at the edges of her resolve. What if it's too dangerous? What if they catch on? This is bigger than us, Maya. Lisa's voice hardened, grounding Maya in the urgency of the moment. We're talking about justice for Benny and so many others. I can't stand by knowing what I know. We can do this together. Maya pondered the notion for a moment. The stakes weren't just hers anymore, they were existential for countless others. Could this journey of personal sacrifice propel not just her growth but also forge a path toward redefining justice? All right. I'm in, she finally stated, feeling each word solidify her commitment not just to Benny but to her own metamorphosis. The perhaps foolish hesitation would not paralyze her. As they discussed the plan, Maya felt a shift within her. The possibility of action felt more potent than fear. Growth was never meant to be comfortable. She was no longer just a participant in her life but an architect of her narrative, wielding her voice as a tool for change. But as they finalized details, a shadow loomed ahead. An unnerving text buzzed through Maya's phone. It was from Benny's family. Urgent. We need to talk. Things have escalated. The magnitude of her choice hit her hard, a keen sense of impending peril reverberating in her chest. A convergence of decisions propelled her forward, igniting both anticipation and dread. How deep was she willing to go to protect her community? As she locked eyes with Lisa, something monumental brewed within them both. It was more than just a meeting, it was the first step into the eye of a storm. The kind that promised to challenge everything they thought they knew about bravery. With the dire message on her phone casting a shadow over their plans, Maya whispered, "We need to move fast." The stakes just climbed to another level, and the path ahead now glittered with both peril and promise. Maya's pulse quickened as she and Lisa gathered their belongings, an unspoken urgency propelling them forward. She felt anchored in purpose yet acutely aware of the stakes. Every step they took could spiral into chaos. The dim light of the cafe, once a comforting refuge, now felt like a prison suffocating under the weight of impending decisions. Where do we start? Maya questioned, her voice barely above a whisper, as if loud words could summon the storm that loomed nearby. Lisa pulled out her phone, her fingers flying over the screen. I have a contact at the Thompsons' marketing department. If we can get basic access through them, I can pose some fitting inquiries. Uncertainty clouded Maya's mind. And if they suspect us? The question hummed like fog, thick and suffocating. We've got the element of surprise on our side, Lisa replied, her tone resolute. They're distracted with their own schemes. We just need to be careful. Carefulness. Maya was familiar with it. Years spent tiptoeing around judgment, dismissive remarks, and lingering stares had taught her the artistry of maneuvering through hostile waters. But now, each calculated risk felt compounded by the gravity of their mission. They were no longer just creeping away from personal history, they were charging headfirst into the heart of darkness. As they walked briskly, Maya replayed every insult, every dismissive laugh from her past, the ghosts of her high school days encroaching like a bad dream. But she needed to confront them. Not for revenge, but as a testament to her growth. Do you ever think about high school? She muttered, more to herself than to Lisa. What do you mean? Lisa asked, glancing at her. The way we functioned. I was always aware of the hierarchy, but now, it seems like I'm here ready to topple it, Maya said, her voice steady despite the uncertainty rattling within her. Why are we so different now? Lisa smirked lightly. We grew up, Maya. It's about time we started rewriting our own narratives. We get to decide who we want to be. That simple notion sent a spark across Maya's chest. She wasn't merely participating in a mission, she was reclaiming her life, sculpting her agency with every stride she took. Clarity bubbled up, her hands trembled as they approached the Thompsons' gated office building. "Let us do this," Lisa breathed, determination lighting up her features. They stepped inside the sprawling lobby, characterized by gaudy grandeur, leaving Maya feeling more out of place than ever. But that feeling buried beneath the surface was emboldened by a surge of purpose. This was the crux of her transformation. They made their way to the marketing department. Maya's heart thudded in her chest as they exchanged practice pleasantries with a receptionist faltering yet motivated by adrenaline. Each second felt like an eternity. Lisa's network shielded them, and Maya allowed the memories of her timid student self to fade, replaced by a woman who embraced her own strength. "What if we discover something we weren't prepared for?" Maya questioned as they stepped into a softly lit conference room, unsure of the confrontation awaiting them. "That's a risk we have to take," Lisa replied softly but firmly, locking eyes with Maya. "Once we start digging, there's no turning back. But we'll do it together." In that moment, staring into Lisa's unwavering confidence, Maya recognized a profound truth. She had changed, the layers of her past peeled back to reveal resilience she never knew she possessed. She was more than a passive voice caught in the shadows of others' choices, she was a force to be reckoned with, ready to challenge the very foundations of corruption. The room's heavy door swung open, revealing a spacious area adorned with the Thompsons' extravagant branding. An unsettling feeling washed over Maya, coaxing her nerves back to the surface. Life as she knew it was morphing under her fingertips, and the real work was just beginning. Maya turned to Lisa. "Let us find out what we're really dealing with." As they stepped forward to explore what lay ahead, a chilling thought drifted through her mind. There was no safety net anymore. This plunge into the unknown could unveil more than just hidden corruption, it could unlock deeply buried aspects of herself. And as the shadows around them shifted ominously, she silently vowed that whatever they unearthed, she would face it not merely as a survivor, but as an agent of change. But before another breath could settle, a sharp voice interrupted their focus. "What are you two doing here?" In an instant, the veil of certainty lifted, replaced by a stark confrontation. The moment hung suspended, brimming with the promise of unforeseen challenges that lay just before them. Maya's heart raced, her instincts flaring as the imposing figure before them demanded answers. She recognized the edge in the voice. It belonged to someone who thrived on power, perhaps even relished in the intimidation that came with it. The tall man, dressed in an immaculate suit, stood between them and their objective. Lisa quickly stepped forward, adopting a disarming smile. "Oh, we were just looking for the restroom," she said, her tone light. Maya felt a stab of disbelief. Did Lisa really expect that charm alone would cut through this man's aura of authority? "Try the 4th floor. Access is restricted to employees only," he replied, without a hint of warmth. His icy gaze slid past them, clearly unimpressed. Maya's resolve hardened as embarrassment flared to the surface. This was not about restroom breaks or casual conversations. They were out to uncover the Thompsons' secrets, and this was an obstacle she would not allow to deter them. She exchanged a quick glance with Lisa, a silent agreement forming: no more distractions, no more hiding behind pleasantries. "Actually," Maya spoke up, her voice steadier than she felt, "we're from the marketing review department. We were scheduled for a meeting with Mr. Thompson." The man raised an eyebrow, skepticism etched into his expression. "I don't recall any appointments." Maya's pulse quickened again. She had planted the seed, but without solid ground, it could wither. It was a last-minute change. "They wanted us to verify some strategies regarding the campaign." Each word carried a weight she wasn't sure she could uphold. "Nice try. I'll need to see some identification." The challenge hung in the air, and Maya felt the ground shift beneath her. The unrelenting facade of her self-made world began to crack. The boldness from earlier was eclipsed by a familiar sense of inadequacy creeping in, a feeling she thought she had left behind. "Lisa, sensing Maya's hesitation, glided forward with a confident assertion. We can't share too much due to confidentiality. But isn't it in your best interest to hear what can benefit the campaign? The man's expression lightened almost imperceptibly. You sound like you think you're valuable. Tell me, how could you possibly add to their strategies? Maya weighed her options. She could retreat and allow fear to seep back in, or step deeper into this confrontation, proving her worth. She straightened, drawing on the strength gathering within her. We've noticed flaws in the advertising angles on social media and that user engagement is dropping. We can help realign the narrative to pull in a larger demographic. Interesting. His interest was piqued, yet Maya caught a flicker of doubt in his eyes. She needed to solidify this. Let me prove it, Maya continued, surprised by the conviction lacing her tone. Give us a moment with the data analytics. Allow us to show you the lost potential. Just like that, huh? You think I can trust you? He raised an eyebrow, challenging her trust. The very thing she had grappled with all her life. But this moment was about more than herself, it was about the possibilities that awaited if she confronted her doubts head-on. You can choose to sideline us or take a risk. No one else has stepped up to address the issues. Don't you want better results? The man stayed silent, weighing his options. Maya felt a tightening in her stomach as she awaited his verdict. Would this man see the opportunity, or would he simply discard their audacity? Just as the tension reached its apex, Lisa said, "Trust us. We won't disappoint you." The man's lips curled into a thoughtful smirk. Fine. Follow me, but if you waste my time, you'll regret it. With a mix of resolve and trepidation, Maya and Lisa trailed behind him, acutely aware that each step was a confrontation of its own. She had put herself on the line, forging ahead into the unknown. As they entered a small conference room cluttered with reports and graphs, Maya felt exhilaration mingling with anxiety. What if they uncovered something truly alarming? What if their findings turned their world upside down? She gathered her thoughts and readied herself to confront not only the truths sitting on the desk before them but her own fears about facing what lay in the shadows of her past. Everything begins here, Maya murmured under her breath, determined. Then, as the man began pulling files from the cabinet, the door swung open again, revealing another figure. This one, however, was familiar to Maya. Maya. Dread washed over her. She recognized the voice. This was someone from her past, who could unravel everything she had worked to build. The confrontation she had promised herself was becoming inevitable. Would she be able to stand her ground against the demons she had fought to overcome? Maya's pulse quickened, a symphony of anxiety and anticipation swelling within her. The familiar voice sent jolts of panic cascading through her veins. It was Sarah, her former colleague, the one who had always overshadowed her at every turn. Their tumultuous history played like a broken record in her mind, each note sharp with memories of harsh competition and unfulfilled ambitions. The sight of Sarah now, in this pivotal moment, felt like a cruel twist of fate. That familiar smile, one she had always perceived as condescending, flashed brightly in the fluorescent light of the conference room. It was a reminder of every critique, every moment when Maya had clung desperately to her self-worth. Maya. I didn't expect to see you here, Sarah said, her voice dripping with that all-too-familiar mix of surprise and superiority. Maya squared her shoulders, fighting against the creeping vulnerability. She could sense Lisa's eyes flicker between them, assessing the tension in the air. She had made a choice, no more hiding. Not now. Not when clarity and opportunity teetered just within her grasp. Surprising even myself, Maya replied, her voice steadier than she felt. She forced a smile, trying to maintain her composure and mask the dread gnawing at her. Sarah stepped further into the room, her presence filling the space, starkly contrasting with Maya's simmering determination. So, marketing review? I suppose you and Lisa think you can just walk in and make a difference without any experience. Quite ambitious, she said, a condescending lilt punctuating her words, Maya felt the familiar weight of inadequacy press upon her, but she refused to be drawn into Sarah's web of doubt. Actually, we're here to address some critical flaws in the current strategies. Something that could benefit the entire campaign. The boldness of her claim was a rebellion against her past insecurities. Is that so? Sarah tilted her head, her gaze appraising. And what makes you think you have anything to add that others haven't? Because we've conducted an in-depth analysis, Maya interjected, surprised by her assertiveness. This was her moment, one that demanded proof over chatter. User engagement is declining. We have new strategies to reclaim lost attention and redirect it effectively. The room fell silent, the tension heavy as the man in the suit observed with crossed arms. Maya could feel the weight of both women's past competing against the urgency needed in this moment. She had come too far to retreat into silence. Yet, with Sarah's presence, her earlier confidence teetered. Maya, my dear, Sarah continued, her tone still edged with sarcasm, you think some half-baked ideas and charts can convince anyone here of your merit? They will see right through you. With a nearly imperceptible flicker of vulnerability, Maya felt a spike of resentment. It wasn't just about proving herself to Sarah. It was about proving to herself that she could stand firm. Clarity came rushing in, this was no longer about reaching a standard set by others but about defining her own. Perhaps it's time someone showed what real dedication looks like, Maya said, her voice sharper. I don't expect you to understand, but I have fought for every opportunity. I won't allow you to undermine what I've built here. Maya's heart thudded, each word slowing time in its wake. The realization that she was no longer that intimidated girl was empowering. The past had shaped her, but it would not dictate her future. She watched Sarah's surprise morph into something colder, a flicker of uncertainty woven through her expertly crafted bravado. Let's take a look at those metrics, the man in the suit interrupted, intrigued by the spark igniting between them. His voice was steady, drawing the attention back to business rather than personal conflicts. Maya inhaled deeply, injecting strength into her stance. It was the moment she had yearned for. This wasn't about fending off the ghosts of her past but seizing a chance to present a narrative that could reshape her professional future. As the man beckoned them over to the computer, Maya felt adrenaline thrumming in her veins. Yet, a lingering question gnawed at her: would she ever be completely free from the shadows of doubt that flickered behind every bold statement and analytical observation? There's more at stake here than just data, she thought as she approached the screen, her hands trembling slightly but firm in resolve. The stakes were higher than mere numbers, they reflected her very identity, and just as they were about to dive into the analytics, the door swung open once again. A newcomer stepped in, their presence commanding attention. Excuse me, the newcomer began, their voice cutting through the tension in the room. Maya turned, her heart racing anew, the weight of her past and present colliding once more. What revelation lay behind this new figure, and how would it redefine her path moving forward? Maya's breath caught as she turned to meet the newcomer's gaze. The man was tall, exuding an unmistakable aura of authority as he stepped forward, his crisp suit and determined demeanor contrasting sharply against the muted colors of the conference room. Her heart raced, every instinct told her this interruption could pivot the trajectory of the meeting entirely. Are you Maya? He asked directly, his eyes narrowing slightly as if assessing her readiness for what was to come. Yes, she replied, her voice faltering briefly before regaining its firmness. I'm Alex, he introduced himself, extending a hand. I just came from the executive board, and they want to hear your insights on user engagement firsthand. Maya blinked, the weight of his words flooding over her. She could feel Sarah's presence dissipating into the background, her authority undermined with this unexpected turn of events. A sense of vindication welled up within her as the spotlight shifted. Maya and I have been preparing a comprehensive strategy, Lisa interjected, her tone signaling her intent to support Maya. Yes, I'd love to share what we've discovered, Maya said, her confidence solidifying as she shook Alex's hand. An electrifying charge surged through her, This was the opportunity she had craved, a chance to redefine herself and solidify her role beyond the shadows of her past. As they moved towards the screen, Maya focused intently on the data she had scrupulously prepared. The moment felt monumental, every struggle, every moment she had doubted her capabilities coalesced into this one presentation. But when she glanced at Sarah, she noticed the nearly imperceptible smirk, the undercurrent of disbelief still lurking in her expression. Maya inhaled deeply, gathering her thoughts with conviction. As I was saying earlier, our analysis indicates that user engagement has plummeted by a significant margin. We've tracked key metrics that illuminate how our messaging has fallen short in connecting with our audience, she began, her voice steady. With each slide she presented, Maya felt the exhilaration that came with knowing she was invoking change rather than merely discussing it. She highlighted the new strategies, tailored content, engagement through interactive platforms, and authentic storytelling approaches that resonated powerfully with target demographics. Each idea she pronounced built a pillar beneath her, each metric reinforcing her purpose. She noticed Alex's intrigued nods, and even the stern expression of the man in the suit softened slightly. There was no denying the professionalism she exuded in that moment. She felt weightless, liberated from the chains of comparison and competition that had shackled her for so long. Upon finishing, Maya looked around the room, gauging the responses. I understand it's a significant shift, but if we don't adapt, we risk losing market share to our competitors who are evolving rapidly in this digital age, she concluded, her passion spilling over. There was a heavy silence before Alex turned to the team with a grin. I think she's right. Let's pivot this discussion to how we can implement these strategies. It's time we took notes, he announced, breaking the tension with a light note. Maya smiled, overwhelmed with relief and pride. Perhaps today marked the true shift, the first step towards asserting her place in this world, not just as an underdog but as a leader. Overcoming Sarah's glare and the expectations tied to it felt monumental in this moment, and it filled her with warmth. Yet, just as she began to revel in victory, the door swung open again. This time, it was an executive from a rival firm, a daunting figure she'd encountered during her past presentations. Maya, he said, locking eyes with her, a challenging smirk playing on his lips. I have a proposition you might want to consider. The challenge posed a shadow on her newfound confidence, stirring a potent mix of intrigue and anxiety. Would she allow herself to be swayed once more, or could she use this as an avenue to propel her forward, further into independence and success? The moment loomed, pregnant with possibilities, leaving her breathless. Maya's heart raced anew, the heavy air thickening around her as she absorbed his words. This was more than just a casual encounter, this was an invitation to play a different game, one in which stakes surged higher than they had ever been in her career. Maya, the executive continued with an air of confidence, I believe there's an opportunity for you to step into a role that's just opening up at our firm. Your insights today prove your worth. We're willing to offer you a significant position that could elevate your career to levels you've only dreamed of. His eyes glimmered with a predatory knowledge, as if he had calculated her every move, gauged every fear. This was a moment crafted for those looking to exploit weakness. Did he sense her vulnerabilities beneath the bravado she had just displayed? Each pulse of her heart echoed with doubt about her current role and her capacity for confrontation. Had she truly broken free of her past, or was she merely skimming at the surface? A glance at Alex and the team brought some comfort. They were still there, voices still buzzing with enthusiasm over her presentation. But the directive to explore new vistas made her acutely aware that she stood at a crossroads. She had fought for a voice in her current role, and yet, here was siren call promising riches and recognition on a grander scale. Maya, Alex interrupted, an undertone of concern overlapping with their executive's charm. What do you think? Caught in a dialectic whirlwind, Maya struggled to process the offer and its implications. Would chasing ambition mean sacrificing the professional integrity she had fought to establish? She recalled her commitment to building a legacy based on authenticity and connection. What would it mean to throw that away for the applause of another firm? There was a visible tension in the air, charged by moments that echoed between her instincts and external pressures. Would accepting provide her with more control over her growth, or plunge her deeper into exploitative relationships that felt all too familiar? Maya's internal monologue spiraled in a whirlwind of what-ifs. "I appreciate the offer," she began, her voice steady despite the chaos inside her mind. "But I'm committed to my current team and to the ideas we've just set in motion." Had she made the right choice? A glimmer of satisfaction sparked within her. She could feel the momentum from her earlier presentation push against the doubt that sourly awaited her response. Yet, uncertainty lingered like shadows circling predators. The rival executive's smirk faltered slightly, as realization dawned that she wasn't the easy target he expected. "Think about it carefully. The longer you stay in a crowded space, the more you risk being overshadowed," he countered smoothly, his voice oozing professionalism that felt disingenuous now. Maya felt the weight of his words. This wasn't merely about a job, it represented the opportunity to redefine who she was, to choose the environment that would cultivate her potential. She wouldn't be caged by fear or ambition's false promises. As the room settled uneasily around her, clarity surged, cutting through the noise. She needed to focus on her own path. It was time to forge a way that aligned with her evolving identity. This was about her power, and for the first time, she recognized that true influence stemmed from within. With each breath, an iron resolve built in tandem with the burgeoning possibility of empowerment. Maya glanced at her colleagues, apprehension melting as she caught Alex's reassuring nod. Perhaps the significance of this moment lay not just in rejecting an offer, but in the clarity it provided about her own aspirations. "I will be considering my options, but I remain fully committed to our current project," she stated firmly, offering the rival a steady gaze filled with newfound authority. As he turned to leave, the echoes of possibility morphed into a bell tolling for her growing resolve. This was not merely about surviving corporate dynamics, it was about thriving in the space she had carved out. Just as the energy in the room began to shift back to its previous excitement, Maya noticed Alex lean in slightly, uncertainty creeping into his eyes. "Maya, this was bold. But there is something bigger brewing with him, something that could impact us all." A quick glance over the shoulder at the departing figure stirred her instincts once more. Had she truly escaped the chains of her previous experiences, or had she merely stirred the hornet's nest? The tension crackled in the remaining moments, suggesting that perhaps this confrontation was only a precursor to a much bigger challenge lurking just beyond the horizon. Would she rise to meet it, or falter as the true implications of her decisions unfurled? Maya took a deep breath, shaking off the residue of uncertainty that clung to her like a second skin. The gravity of that moment still anchored her mind in a chaotic tumult, but beneath the surface, something more resolute was formulating. This was not merely a confrontation, it was a litmus test, measuring not just her ambitions but the core of who she was becoming. As the office returned to a buoyant atmosphere, Maya felt the stirring of a purpose that had long been smothered by self-doubt. The offer, laden with allure, had starkly illuminated her desire for validation in an industry that often seemed designed to overlook individuals like her. She had faced her demons in the past, had fought for recognition and respect, and yet, here she was, tethered again to a sense of uncertainty. How far could she evolve in a space that felt increasingly constrictive? Alex leaned closer, his brow lined with worry. "Maya, do you think you did the right thing? Turning him down could lead to repercussions." Her response was instinctive, a smattering of confidence, but truth weighed heavy on her tongue. "I did what felt right in the moment. It's the first time in a while I stood firm on my values." With each word, she sensed a shift not only in her relationship with Alex but in her own mindset. The resolution to prioritize authenticity was no longer passive, it was her primary weapon against the corporate grind. Maya glimpsed the next steps before her. She had unfinished projects to nurture, visions to explore, ideas that had sparked with her colleagues, now ignited with a renewed tenacity. Was she ready to push boundaries? Was she willing to wrestle with whatever challenges arose from that decision? The following weeks unfolded like pages in an uncharted manuscript. Maya allowed herself to embrace ambiguity, diving into the projects she had committed herself to with fervor. Her mornings began with intention, drafts evolving into robust strategies aimed at not just completing but exceeding expectations. Each meeting became a domain where she could assert her presence, her voice ringing out with a blend of conviction and collaboration, yet the specter of the rival executive lingered, a shadow threatening to overshadow her achievements. As compliments from peers bolstered her confidence, frustration brewing in her gut warned of the shifting dynamics beyond the immediate walls of her office. Was there a risk of retaliation, of being undermined by the very executive she had turned away? In a daring push to solidify her standing, Maya decided to host an after-hours brainstorming session for her team. The intention was twofold: to strengthen their bonds and to summon new ideas unrestrained by the usual corporate decorum. The vibrant discussions quickly transformed the stifling air into something electric, each voice layering creativity over anxiety like paint upon a canvas. Alex caught her eye during a particularly striking moment of inspiration. "We should consider pitching this to upper management," he suggested, excitement evident in his tone. The suggestion sent electricity coursing through her. "Yes," she declared, a flicker of adrenaline igniting within. "Let us turn our ideas into a cohesive vision. We can illustrate how we're pushing the envelope." As the work session drew to a close, Maya felt exhilarated but burdened by the responsibility of leadership. Each decision felt pivotal. Could she navigate the impending challenges while also seeking the validation she craved? The fear of falling prey to corporate games never fully dissipated, but with each passing moment, her resolve crystallized into something palpable. Just as they wrapped up, a message flickered on her phone. The rival executive had reached out, requesting a meeting. The air thickened at the prospect. What did he want now? Had he sensed her growing influence and sought to extinguish it? The clouds of an inevitable storm loomed ahead, and the challenge before her surged with adrenaline. Maya's heart raced again, this time with clarity. The impending confrontation would force her to stand her ground, to reinforce her commitments and perhaps redefine the very narrative of her career. It was time to put her journey of authenticity against the world that sought to undermine it. With determination ignited, she prepared to face the contours of conflict, aware that every choice she made now would influence the foundation upon which her legacy would stand. The next collection of choices loomed closer. Would she engage, or would she risk everything she had built? Maya's heart drummed in her chest as she entered the conference room for the meeting with the rival executive. The moment consolidated her transformation. No longer the timid girl afraid of being unseen, she had become a woman ready to carve her own path in a world that had previously seemed so insurmountable. As she took her seat across from him, she felt a surge of composure wash over her. The weight of the past teetered at the edge of her consciousness while the fierce determination of her recent victories anchored her in the present. "Glad to see you could make it, Maya," the executive said, a calculated grin spreading across his face. "I think you'll find our conversation quite enlightening." Judging by his tone, she anticipated more offers slick with temptation and strings attached. "Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to discussing our paths forward," Maya began, her voice unwavering. The conversation shifted through layers of ambiguity, but Maya held steadfast, confident in the clarity she had gained from her recent efforts. She had spent weeks fostering collaboration within her team, bringing vibrant ideas to the forefront, and she was unshakable in her commitment to authenticity. "I think you underestimate our potential," Maya asserted, approaching the subject of her ideas without hesitation. "We're on the cusp of a strategic turnaround. But we're not interested in shortcuts or hollow accolades." The executive's expression morphed, skepticism creeping into his demeanor. Despite the silent challenge, Maya pressed forward, bolstered by the solidarity of her team's support and the scars of past insecurities that had now become badges of honor. "Your vision can't be built on a foundation of manipulation. I've seen the results of honest collaboration," she continued, every word weighted with newfound conviction. The air in the room thickened with tension, but Maya felt liberated by her defiance against conformity. Then, like a whirlpool opening beneath her, she recognized an unprecedented sense of power inwardly directed rather than dependent on external praise. She was not merely voicing ideas, she was asserting her worth as an innovator. "I appreciate the offer you presented to join your firm," she concluded, the smile on her face steady despite the tempest within. However, I believe my current path holds the promise of authenticity and impact, things that are not for sale. For a moment, silence enveloped the room. Uncertainty played across the executive's features as he registered her bold response. The decision was courageous. She had broken free from manipulation, claiming her narrative as her own. He shifted uncomfortably, leaving a heavy pause hanging in the air before finally responding. You may regret this decision, Maya. Opportunity only knocks so many times. I appreciate your time and consideration, but I'm entirely on board with the mission I've adopted. I want to be swayed from that, she replied calmly, feeling a sense of satisfaction ripple through her, a feeling she had never thought she'd attain. Maya left the building feeling weightless, having transcended the limitations she had imposed upon herself for so long. Her heart sang with an invigoration, each step an acknowledgement of the woman she had become. Weeks later, as projects unfolded and the team rallied around her revitalized vision, Maya found herself validated through the successes they achieved. Their innovative strategies began to shift the focus of the marketing campaign, drawing engagement numbers she had only dreamed of, the product of her long hours and unwavering commitment. News of their success spread, earning her accolades and placing her in front of influential boards. Confidence bloomed as recognition from industry leaders affirmed her journey. No longer merely the bystander in her life, Maya was at the helm leading her own ship with purpose. During a presentation that showcased their success, executive figures turned towards her, their previous reservations transformed into admiration. Maya, you've achieved what many deemed impossible, a senior leader remarked, a genuine smile breaking through the formerly rigid facade. Her heart swelled not from the clamor of accolades but from the realization of it. She had not only conquered her fears but had also manifested the potential she'd long held within. It was the moment she had envisioned, epitomizing everything she stood for: avowed integrity, collaborative spirit, and a relentless pursuit of authenticity. Today, she was recognized not just for her contributions, but for the brave choices that crystallized her path to greatness. As she left the meeting, her mind echoed with gratitude for all the trials that had shaped her ascent. Challenges once regarded with apprehension now illuminated her growth. Maya was no longer trapped by her past, she was steering towards a horizon filled with limitless possibilities. Maya Johnson had achieved her personal transformation not just in the workplace but within herself, proving her worth, conquering doubt, and asserting her rightful place in a world that had once overlooked her brilliance. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show you appreciate real triumphs. Comment your reactions and theories about Maya's extraordinary journey and share your thoughts on her ultimate victory. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to support this channel. Every action counts in celebrating individual overcoming stories.